Hi, everybody, and welcome to this webinar from Mosher Consulting and Red Hat. We're going to talk today with our Ansible experts. We've asked ahead of time for questions to be submitted, and we got several questions, so we're going to be going over those. If you want to ask a specific question or something that comes up, have a need for further information, type that into the chat box. And we will definitely get that going. I'm going to throw up a poll that you can participate in if you want. There's a couple questions on there about IT automation and where you're at in that journey, because IT automation is a journey. It's something that it's best to plan and make a plan for long term. With that, I'm going to turn it over for a moment to Matt Wren. He's going to talk a little bit about what we do and introduce our panelists. So Matt.
Thanks, Melinda. And thanks for everybody for joining today. So as Melinda said, my name is Matt Wren. I am responsible for leading our sales charge here at Mosher. I've been with Mosher for 6.5 years, and I'm very lucky to be able to introduce our panelists today. We'll start with Estelle. Estelle is a senior consultant here at Mosher, focusing on Red Hat Automation Platform, and is a Linux systems engineer as well, having expertise in Red Hat, CentOS, and Solaris. She enjoys using her skills to contribute to the exciting technological advances in her community. Next is Louis. Louis is our tech lead for our open systems infrastructure and automation, as well as an Ansible architect for us. He's been with Mosher for a little over 7 years, and if we ever get back to traveling and conference life, he enjoys a good bourbon. So if you see him, make sure you get him one. And then finally, introduce Jim Garrett. Jim is a chief architect for Red Hat. He's been there for almost 5 years. I'm very lucky to call him a personal friend of mine. And Jim also does enjoy a good bourbon when he travels too. Mosher, we have been in business for 25 years. We work in the federal, state, and local and commercial markets. We have 7 different practices here at Mosher. You can check those out at mosherit.com if you want more information on that. Within our Red Hat partnership, we were fortunately enough named the SI Partner of the Year for small, medium-sized organization, as well as an Apex partner, which means we're able to do subscriptions, sell you subscriptions, as well as perform architecture, implementations, and support of Red Hat products. A friendly reminder to everybody that Red Hat Summit was the last 2 days, so please go back and check out any of the sessions. They all are on demand. And I will hand it back over to Melinda to be able to ask the experts and go from there. So thanks, everybody.
Okay, so we're going to start with a few of our questions that we got online. I'm going to hope this panel advances. I did click on it, so I'm going to give it a second. There we go. Thank you, Louis. I saw it. I heard you do that. So one of the questions that we got, I would like to learn more about Ansible Automation Benefits. I would like to say we do have a podcast episode that talks about all of the benefits of IT automation. So if you go to our podcast, Ask Me Anything at listen.mosherit.com, we go into very much more in depth on that. But to start off, I wanted to ask Estelle to just talk a little bit about this.
Yes, thank you, Melinda, and hi, everyone. So IT automation implies making a routine task automatically repeatable. And the importance of automation is clear, and it's very clear. And in the past, this was very less a concern because the pace of IT itself was slower, and IT is expected now to respond instantly to business needs. That's why they're moving towards IT automation. And now they can no longer afford to take 3 weeks to fire up a VM, for example, in a private cloud. So these types of delays are just not acceptable. They act as a brake on the business itself. So some of the importance or benefits of automation is greater speed and efficiency in your infrastructure. So developers or development gets faster when time-consuming tasks like configuration are taken away from developers and implemented automatically. So this also results in consistent environments and more redefined configuration. So IT personnel are now happy because they are removed from the manual task and now free to focus on more important and higher value work, which will lead to higher level of productivity. IT automation will also save you money and resources in the sense that it eliminates the need of large teams. It performs a lot of manual steps, a large team to perform a lot of manual steps to get started with production development. So it can help save on staffing costs. So labor spending is also reduced in workers spending time and resources working on more important value-added tasks. So the result can be significant cost saving. One more thing is about enhanced security. Automation will help your business enhance their security. And so by removing time-consuming and effort-filled tasks like monitoring from the developer's responsibilities, and now through automation, developers and even cybersecurity professionals can focus proactively on preventing vulnerabilities and even troubleshooting issues. You know, without automation, security teams have to deal with an increased number of security alerts and potential incidents, which could require even many hours of that valuable time to resolve issues. And you know, because there are so many false positive, like mislabel alerts that come in, that time ends up being spent in vain. But with security automation, these repetitive processes don't require human intervention. So it can free up a lot of time to deal with real cybersecurity threats. In other words, automation allows security teams to deal with potential alert in a faster and more effective manner. And when you automate your IT processes, you also reduce the chances of human error. You can take steps to reduce human error and ensure a more accurate information as well as smoothly completed tasks and processes. And an error-free business is very more efficient and better at serving the customers. So with less chances of human error, a business can focus more on what they do best and not on resolving issues that need fixing. So using automation, it's very important and it's good for the company. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm going to try to switch to the next one. There we go. Question 2 that was submitted. I'm new to system administration, curious about Ansible. Was wondering if anyone has any experience using Ansible to assist in administering a Horizon desktop environment, and if so, how does it help with automating the Horizon environment?
So for those who aren't familiar, Horizon desktop environment is a VMware product. It's part of the normal VM stack, but it provides a VDI-based environment. We're actually using that at our current client. And at the end of the day, the management on that's not too different than the management of most either Windows instances or VMware instances, depending on the layer of the stack you're dealing with, from provisioning all the way through customization, GPO, domain membership, you know, all the parts and pieces, software install, all the parts and pieces that you normally deal with the desktop and or with a Windows system and or with a VMware environment. Ansible handles those all pretty easily and out of the box. We've got modules for all of the above. So, and because PowerShell is a first-class citizen, it makes taking anything you've already got written in PowerShell and migrating it into Ansible amazingly simple. If me as a infrastructure guy from start to finish, whose last programming was C++ can do it, then it's doable. So I think that answered the question, Melinda.
Jim, did you have anything to throw in there? I don't mean to pick on you.
I think Luce did a great job of answering directly as far as what Ansible can do with the Horizon environment. One thing I'd like to add too is with VMware, we have probably, I think, 60 or 70 different modules inside of Ansible that provide ways to automate the VMware tasks that people do every day. So that's really the only thing to add.
Okay, awesome. Trying to, there we go. How do you upgrade Ansible from previous versions?
So there are really three aspects to this. One, are you doing just Ansible Core? Two, are you doing Ansible Tower as well as Ansible Core? And three, where's your code at? So the Tower / Ansible Core stuff is actually pretty easy. It's all done via RPM package management or the Tower installer, which comes either standalone or bundled with all the pieces you need. So for your DoD or disconnected environments or anything that's sitting in a DMZ or something, you can use the bundled installer. But all of that it's maybe 20 minutes of watching an Ansible playbook run. It's just staggeringly simple. Really, the bigger kicker is that Ansible versions are supported for 18 months, and then code gets deprecated out. So when you're writing your code, running your code, you always got to look for those purple deprecation warnings, because they will be changing things out from underneath you, as it were, but they give you 18 months of warning. So as long as you're paying attention to your code as it's being executed, it's not that hard to stay current. But if you don't stay current on your code, then you can get yourself bit a little bit. The other thing that Tower does is it provides virtual environments. So you can create a virtual environment with the not yet released or the preview version of Ansible Tower, or not Ansible Tower, Ansible Core. And then you can run against that and see how your code does before you ever go for your upgrade. So it gives you a test ground for you to work with on your code. But the biggest thing is to watch your code and watch your deprecation warnings. Jim, do you have anything further?
No, Louis, you answered it perfectly. Good job.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay. Again, trying to get this to advance. Okay. Is Red Hat a good technology for engineering students to consider? And I was going to tap Estelle for this. I know Estelle has a lot of experience teaching and helping students. So there you go.
Yes. The short answer for this question is yes. Red Hat is suitable for engineering students. So being an engineering student or having that background sets you as an advantage because you already have that analytical, critical thinking, and even problem solving skills. So it really sets you at that advantage for Red Hat technology. So, and I'll say Red Hat has an array of certification oriented towards job roles, from system administration to system engineering and architecture, to development and even application administrations, and also to cloud and virtualization administration. So it depends on what your goals and visions are. The Red Hat Certified System Administrator, for example, is a Red Hat basic certification, which guarantees that an administrator knows how to configure logical storage, work with the system security controls, such as security enhanced Linux, firewalls and access controls, and manage its file system and user base. And then further, we have the Red Hat Certified System Engineer that adds to this with skills in web server administration, remote storage, connection, configuring DNS server, NFS server, FTP, and SMTP services, and many others. Further, you can also go to be an expertise dealing with directory service, virtualization, clustering, and remote storage, even security enhanced Linux and other advanced technology. So of course, having that engineering background will really set you at an advantage. And I would say, if you think you want to go in for any Red Hat course, what I'll tell you is that you can do more than what you think you can do. Just put your mind to it. It's nothing too complicated. As an engineering student or with that engineering background, I strongly believe you will succeed and do good.
I wanted to append to that also. The one skill I look for the most when I'm interviewing potential engineers of any stripe is the ability to troubleshoot or problem solve, right? The ability to think logically through a problem. And so engineering typically lends itself to that quite well. And Ansible is the same way. It's the ability to troubleshoot, because you never get it right out of the box, right? You have to iterate. And so the ability to troubleshoot is the thing that I find the hardest to teach and the most important in people I'm looking to hire.
Yeah, and I'd like to add a slightly different slant to what both Lewis and Estelle had to say. So knowing that Red Hat is an open source company, what that implies is that individuals from outside of Red Hat have the ability to download the source code, make changes to it, and possibly upload it back into our upstream source code tree. As an engineering student, what better opportunity to get involved with a community that is making an impact out in our ecosystem. I have a son, he's 22 years old. He's a computer science major at a university here in Cincinnati, otherwise known as University of Cincinnati. And he actually got involved with an OpenShift operator project last summer. And it was really educational for him. So Red Hat has not only great products that engineering students can leverage, products like Ansible, where they can learn how to automate all of the different mundane tasks that they do all the time, but we also offer opportunities to contribute and to do things back upstream to help define what not only future engineering students are going to leverage, but other people out in the ecosystem. So great opportunity to learn and a great opportunity to contribute back into the world.
And a heck of a resume builder.
Heck of a resume builder. That's right. If you want to impress somebody, show them that you've volunteered, you've contributed your time to upstream projects that are making a difference. That's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to iterate to what Lois said about problem solvers. That's what we look for at Mosier. Everyone we hire, we want them to be problem solvers, be able to take something and pick it apart. So, all right, I'm trying to move forward here. So this is one of the more common questions that we get about Ansible, about IT automation. What are the biggest roadblocks to automation that we see at clients?
So I'm now into my fifth year, of doing Ansible at clients. For those of you who aren't aware of how a lot of these contracts work, I spend between 5 and 15 to 20 weeks at a client generally, and then move on. So I've seen quite a few clients in this, 4.5, 5 years. The two biggest things that I see are, one, it's cultural, and there's no better way to say it, is that if you have the mentality of everything's a special snowflake, then you fight to not automate. But as we know, that's a negative to progress, right? It doesn't help us with consistency. It doesn't help us with compliance. It doesn't help us with any of the things that our normal goals in IT would be, right? The other part is you try to take the whole mountain at one step, right? You got to start and just keep building. So the biggest thing is to start getting quick wins on your automation, right? You figure out a straightforward process that you do a ton and that you realize saves you 5 minutes a week. But if it saves you 5 minutes a week and it takes you 20 minutes to automate, now you've saved yourself 5 minutes a week every week, and it only took you 20 minutes. You start with smaller bites and it works pretty darn well. Jim, Estelle?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest roadblocks that we have is that people are busy. They don't feel like they can slow down enough to actually pick up a new technology and run with it. However, that also becomes one of the biggest reasons to adopt an automation technology. One of my colleagues at Red Hat actually made a comment to me one time, and this guy, he was super educated. He's got, I think, 5 different certifications at Red Hat, from certified system administrator, certified engineer, certified security. I mean, this guy has it all. And once he started using Ansible, he started automating all of those tasks that he did just routinely or mundanely every day. And ironically, before he knew it, he started to forget some of the command line commands that he used to use simply because he was running automated scripts to do everything for him. So these automated scripts definitely help, but you have to sometimes slow down a little bit in order so that you can speed up at a later point.
So one thing I can add is change. A lot of people are just not accustomed to change, and sometimes bringing automation to an infrastructure means bringing change, and people are not just always open to change because it will require you moving from what you're used to doing manually, having to do it with automation, even though it's easier, just a button and whatever you're doing is done. Some people are just very stereotyped and they don't want to embrace change. So change, the ability to embrace change can be one roadblock also.
So do you guys see, like, do you feel like top down helps the implementation of automation, or is it more bottom up? Is it the tech people who say, we need to automate this, and then it goes up through management? Like, have you seen it work both ways?
So it actually needs to work both ways. The running joke I've always heard in IT is that the higher up the food chain you have to sell a product, the worse it is. So if you get the CTO happy about the product and the tech guys don't like it, probably not a great product. That said, you have to sell it at that level, right? You can't convince the higher ups that it's good by saying, I really like it, it's cool, look at this happy bell, right? You got to go, hey, there's a 400% ROI over 9 months. We're gonna reduce our costs and we're gonna increase our compliance. We're gonna reduce our risks, and start talking that speak that makes it sense. And so I find it better to come from both angles, right? It's really easy for adoption. The tech people like it, and it has a really quick return on investment for what is a comparatively low initial outlay. So yeah, you got to come at it from both angles.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with Lewis more. I mean, it really is, it goes both ways. Management needs to see how much they can save, how much return on their investment they can save, but technical people need to push it from the bottom to say to them, we believe if we do this, we're actually going to be able to do more with our time, with fewer tools, with fewer minutes in the day. And that's a huge selling point. And people, one of the questions we often get asked is, will this hurt my job? Will it make me obsolete? And the response to that is, heck no. The more you become able to automate the different things that you do on a daily basis, which means you can do more during that time span, the more valuable you become. And that's one of the messages to carry home is that value comes in being able to do more. And, that helps when a company either upsizes or downsizes. If they increase in size, again, you're able to do more. If they decrease in size, the person they're going to want to keep is the person that's doing more. So it's a very important aspect to understand.
All right, I'm trying to, there we go, 6. So what are next steps once you start with Ansible? So let's say you have Ansible up and running and I've made a couple of playbooks. What now?
So
I think,
oh, go ahead, Jim.
I think the next step, and Lewis, you're probably going to say the exact same thing, but once you start to automate, you're going to see that you have not just 1 or 2 playbooks, but you're going to have 10, 20, 30, maybe hundreds of playbooks that do all of the various, mundane tasks that you do manually now. The next thing you have to worry about is, how do you make those playbooks available to the global audience? In other words, rather than just running a playbook via the command line, how do you take that playbook and make it so that anybody can run it? And of course, that's done through using what we call Ansible Tower. But then even beyond that is you need to think about where you're going to store these playbooks, and then how are you going to make them available to Ansible Tower? How are you going to version control them? Allow people to modify them and track those changes. Again, those are all things that come into play once you start expanding this footprint and using Ansible to do so many more things. And that's really what the Ansible automation platform as a whole is all about. So the platform has has Ansible Tower, and it also has the Ansible engine built into it. And that's where the real power comes into play, is being able to expand, version control, allow other people to run those scripts without having to necessarily give them administrative access or root access to a system. All that you can do with Ansible Tower.
Yeah, I'd agree. Tower does provide that a nice API interface for user self-service, whether you're using ServiceNow or Jira or a PHP website or .NET, or insert your user self-service tool here. And because it's a RESTful API, the integration points are pretty easy. Additionally, as Jim was talking about, Ansible handles RBAC, or role-based access control, so that you can get real granular with what you allow people to do and don't do, and what part of the inventory they're allowed to touch, for example. That said, the other part of next steps is always, all right, so I've gotten server provisioning done, and I've gotten server retirement done, and I've gotten user management handled. What do I do next? So for me, it's always, you look at your emails, or you look at your ticket system and go, what am I doing the most of? And then start looking at what's taking your time. And so you look at both what takes your time and what tasks are consistently done incorrectly, right? Is it adding IP or adding firewall rules? Is it user management? Is it, insert task here? But the idea is if something's consistently going wrong for you, then that's what you should be taking a look at. And automation is phenomenal for driving consistency. So those are the two areas that I always have people look for most on finding what's next.
And I will agree to what Louis just said. And one little thing I'd like to add is to identify work that takes less time and the most time. These are the tasks you want to start with to automate, and then prioritize, make a plan for long-term goal. Look about what infrastructure automation makes sense as an end-to-end solution for long-term growth, and prioritize those tasks.
All right. I think that is all of our predetermined questions. I want to thank all of our panelists today. Thank you guys for coming in, taking this time. We're going to be sending out an email with a summary of this and some links in it. These links, the link to Red Hat Summit. We'll be here for a couple minutes if anybody wants to type a question into the chat pod, or you can always send us a question on our website. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, if there are any questions on things that are currently kicking you in the teeth, or are just kind of, I'm trying to get it done and I'm just not sure how, we're happy to help. Even if it involves complex data structures in Ansible, we can play that game too. Well, Matt won't be able to help with that, but the rest of us.
No, definitely won't.
I won't help with that either, but the rest of you.
You have a better shot at it than Matt does.
I'm not going to comment on that.
I can get Ansible stood up. At least I can get it stood up. So if I can do it, anybody can.
It's not wrong.
All right. I'm going to thank all of our panelists today and all of our attendees, and everybody have a great day.